Next on the Broadway show, the star-studded cast of Merrily We Roll Along is all here. Jonathan Groff, Daniel Radcliffe, and Lindsay Mendez. Plus, she's a classic character, but one of the new faces in the hallowed halls of Hogwarts. I'm catching up with Broadway's new Hermione. And the circus comes to town. We're talking to the novelist behind Water for Elephants, before that musical opens this month. I'm Tamsen Fadal, and this is the Broadway show. Broadway's biggest stars and shows are right here on the Broadway show. I'm Tamsen Fadal, so let's get going. After all these years, Merrily We Roll Along is one of Broadway's biggest hits. It's 43 years after notoriously flopping, and it features a star-studded cast. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
It's so fun to have like a trio, right?
A throuple, yes.
What's the best part of that? I feel like if one of your energy is like down, maybe the others can kind of lift them up, or
Yeah, when Lindsay or I are down, Jonathan's energy can lift us
at
up.
all times.
I think doing a show that revolves around friendship like this, kind of, you don't know what you're going to get when you come into that. And it does sort of rely on everyone coming in with the same mindset of like, let's get to know each other and be very like open and like, and you know, these guys did, we all just like, you know, we're very lucky. It makes the job of acting very, very easy. Like I don't really feel like I have to do it most nights.
For me, this season has been the season of Merrily. I can't believe I can say Merrily We Roll Along is a Broadway hit. That sentence doesn't even make sense to me. And it's because of you three. I mean, I know this show really well, and the magic of what you all bring to these roles is so key to the success of this revival.
I wonder, I have this question, maybe you know the answer to this. Is Merrily We Roll Along the first ever poster that was in Joe Allen as a flop that then became a commercial hit? It's like, I don't know if this has ever happened in the history of Broadway. Let's find out. Maybe you could report back. And Maria Friedman, the amazing director of the show, her goal was to bring the show back to Broadway and for it to be the success that George Firth and Stephen Sondheim always wished that it was.
Yeah.
And so to be living in that, it's the stuff that dreams are made of.
It really is.
You've also been going through a lot in your personal lives, and there's some babies, an engagement, congratulations. So there's a lot of life stuff happening at the same time. So what's the season been like for you to be on the receiving end of everything?
It feels like because we started this, so long ago downtown.
Yeah.
It just kind of feels like we just keep doing this play and our lives keep happening and our friendship keeps growing and deepening. And now that we're in this season and we have our kids and our lives, it just feels like, thank God this happened, because now I'm like, I can't ever imagine my life without these two strongly in it,
In the show, you're kind of the best of friends, the worst of friends, depending on the scene, maybe. You met, as you said, a couple years ago. You didn't really know each other that well. I'm sure
we
you
knew
two
each
have
other.
run into each other a little bit. But you kind of had to fake the friendship right at first, like your actors. But as you said, now there's actual history. How do you think that has made the show grow over this time?
I guess we were in a sense faking it at first, but we all came in with a kind of okay, let's get to know each other. So I think it started to happen very quickly. But now, during Old Friends particularly is when I think I feel it the most, where just you can both make me laugh so easily. You know exactly how to make me laugh, or a kind of thing that will. When you see a moment of you almost laughing for a second, it just makes everything. I feel like we have to do even less as actors to communicate the friendship, and it's just there, and we're just a lot of the show, when appropriate, and sometimes when not appropriate, is us having fun with each other.
I was gonna say, I've never felt so free as an actor than in this show. And I think that's largely in part to playing these friends and us having this real friendship out there and this trust that we have, because they're both such incredible actors, and I feel so safe, and I feel like we're always just right there, so anything can happen and we've got it. And that is a really cool feeling every night.
Our time, breathe it in. Worlds to change and worlds to win. Our turn coming through. Me and you, pal, me and you. Years from now, we'll remember and we'll come back by the rooftop and hang a plaque.
We're doing a little photo shoot. I like to call it By the Rooftop and Hang a Plaque. That's what I've titled the photo shoot. The final scene of the show, as you mentioned, it is lovely because it is a cynical show at times, but you do get to walk out lighter, I'm assuming, right? You're right. It starts in one place and then it builds to like this beautiful moment between the three of you. You know, in our own lives, obviously, we all get slightly more cynical. It's the whole musical's about. Do you remember sort of your own our time moments, or what's it like to sort of live in that energy every night?
It's the best. It's like the best medicine at the end of every night to end on that rooftop. The first like personal memory that's coming to me when you ask that question is December 31st, 2004. So almost 20 years ago. What'd you say?
So he has a date.
Well, because it was New Year's Eve.
Oh, okay.
Because it was New Year's Eve, and I had just moved to the city that fall, and I was living with Lindy Franklin, who was my roommate, and my friend Cody, who was my boyfriend for the next 3.5 years, but we had just like gotten together that November 1st, and I was waiting tables at the Chelsea Grill of Hell's Kitchen on New Year's Eve, and Christy Putz and I were waiting tables together, and it was like a half an hour before midnight, and Cody and Lindy came into the restaurant, and Christy was like, "Here, Jonathan, just take the cash from the night and go sit with your friends." And I remember this feeling, it was very like Merrily, of it being the new year. I had just moved to the city.
Yeah.
I had this wad of cash. I had this secret boyfriend that it was like I was so excited about and so in love with. And my friend Lindy, and we were like, we live in New York. It was the first time I'd ever lived there, and just feeling like everything was possible.
My first apartment was on the Upper West Side, and I live on the Upper West Side now. And so I walk by, there's like a bagel shop on Amsterdam, and I remember like going there to get a bagel when I like first moved here, and feeling like I like walked out with it. And I remember I went to the Natural History Museum and sat and ate, and I was like, wow, I'm a part of this. I live here. And I just took my daughter there recently, and it was like, it made me so emotional that I was like, I can't believe I'm actually like living my dreams here and living my life, and now sharing it with my child. I mean, it's just, it's incredible.
Daniel, you have a little bit of a different path towards acting.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, there are a few things that are like popping into my head, but honestly, is now an acceptable answer? Like, I do, like, I've just had
Yeah,
like
that's a
such a
beautiful
great,
answer.
like, I've had such a, like, you know, I've had a son this year, and it's been incredible, and getting to do that, and then also like be in this show every night with these guys, and just feel, and you know, as you said, play to these audiences that we're just like, it's insane that we're just like, you know, getting this kind of response, and it's amazing to be able to feel like you were both giving that and receiving that sort of response every night is really really cool. So yeah, I don't know now.
Oh, and the interview cut.
Harry Potter and the Cursed Child is Broadway's most successful non-musical play and still crushing records at the Lyric Theater. And Cara Ricketts plays Hermione. We had a chance to chat. Have you always been in love with the world of Harry Potter?
No.
No? I like that. I like the honesty.
Not even a little bit. My family was.
Okay.
They were all Potterheads, and my boyfriend is. And when he found out that I had booked the part, he immediately got me Hermione's wand. And I was like, this is great. I don't know what it is. Like, there's a lot of like learning about the wizarding world, which I love because I'm learning it from the people around me, as opposed to like usually if I were to do Shakespeare or something, you're reading the resource materials and you're trying to learn the thing. But here people will whisper things that are super important to them and what it means for them, and then trying to situate that in the world of it. So that's been a nice part of joining the company.
Well, you're on a learning curve along the way, and
Yeah.
seeing what ebbs and flows of the audience too, because this is an audience that, you know, there's generations now that have grown up with it, moms, kids, and so that's kind of neat to see. And then who who they relate to, right?
Absolutely.
As a character.
Absolutely. What I love about the show is I went to see the show in order to learn about the wizarding world. And I was able to keep up with the story because it's so universal. It's about a father and his relationship with his son, a son's relationship with his father in the world being so incredibly famous as Harry Potter. But it was also so much fun to sit with an audience and have people applaud when certain characters show up. And then I'd have to whisper to my boyfriend, like, who is that? You know? So it's nice to feel like almost familial. There's something really cool about a modern classic, which is what this play is, that so many people celebrate it, and they celebrate storytelling, and that's so special.
And especially, it came from a book, you know, it wasn't
Yeah.
it was a movie, yes, but it came from a book. And
Yeah.
I think there's something special with that nowadays when we're moving so quickly, you know, that people sat down and they imagined it first, and maybe that's where that depth of character
And it was also
comes
around the time when we were having a conversations about how relevant reading was. Like, we were really worried about how image-based we were becoming. You know, like Instagram was just taking off, a lot of social media was taking off, and the attention span just seems to be getting shorter and shorter. So to have people fall in love with written word and use their imaginations was spectacular. It's the wizarding world. It's
Yeah.
the fact that you can read the book, you can go see the play, and then you can perform it with your class. There's a full exploration of the imagination that hasn't happened in forever, really, you know? Like, you put down, and then you can still also play Harry Potter on your, like, gaming station. So there's still access to it in many different forms, but you can touch base with it in that superhuman way of theater and performance and reading, which is nice.
How do you relate to your character? What
I
are they-
love her. She's like,
Everybody does.
yeah, but she's a dorky girl who cares about her friends, who also cares about, like, her me time so that she can research the world that she's in. And, you know, she's a know-it-all a little bit, but she bends. She's not strict in what she believes in. And she's also an adventurer. And so when her friends are like, let's go on an adventure, she's right there with them, and she's willing to take chances. So yeah, she's easy to love. She's really easy to love.
This Black History Month, we're highlighting some of Broadway's most influential Black artists. This week, we celebrate the illustrious playwright Lynn Nottage. She's the first and only woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for Drama twice for her plays Ruined and Sweat. Nottage is also the first Black playwright in history to have two shows on Broadway at the same time. In 2021, her play Clyde's about a formerly incarcerated staff working in a sandwich shop opened at the Hayes Theater. And she followed it up immediately with the Tony-winning smash hit MJ the Musical, which is still crushing box office records at the Neil Simon Theater. MJ is also on tour right now across the country. Lynn personifies nuanced characters in all of her work, but especially Black women. When she's not writing the next Broadway hit, she's speaking out to advocate for Black representation in theater, both on and off stage. Thank you, Lynn Nottage, for your both exposing and healing work. This is a Broadway show, and we're back in just a few. Water for Elephants brings a circus to Broadway this spring. It's based on the best-selling novel from 2006, and it actually features real circus performers. Let's send it out to Beth Stevens.
We are literally in rehearsal right now. Yeah. How does it feel for you to walk into that room today and just see everyone working on the story that you created?
When I was at the start of the movie, they drove me over a berm and there was the midway, and I thought, great, I'm suddenly in my own head. But here, I'm able to just, it feels new to me, and yet it retains all of the good things that I wanted it to have, and I think that's a pretty magical combination.
So let's go back in time and tell me what sparked the idea for you to write Water for Elephants.
I was about halfway through another book. I call it now my jump-off book because when I finish a book, I start to write it. I think it's a good idea. I may someday finish it. But I was working on it and went down one Sunday morning and opened the Chicago Tribune. And there was an article about, I think it's Edward J. Kelty's circus photographs from between World War I and World War II. He was a gunner who ran away with the circus afterward. And the pictures could show all of the Ringling people, the lineup at once. I was just staring at the picture. I could hear my husband getting, uneasy in the background.
But your imagination must have been going.
I just looked at it and I stabbed it and I said, this is what I'm doing next. Immediately, the stories and the anecdotes, and they're notoriously fuzzy as to whether they're true or not, but the stories about the elephants were the ones that really just struck me. And I've just always loved elephants, of course. And so I thought, this, yes, of course, why not have an elephant be the star?
I mean, I feel like whatever ideas you had swirling in your mind as you were looking at those photographs have come through not only your novel, but the film and now the musical.
These people are geniuses. There are a few places where the words are the same, but really not very many. But I come out of it thinking, wow, that was a great rendition of the book. I mean, it just comes out with all the important bits intact.
This story takes place largely on a train. There are animals, as we've said. How did you think that would translate theatrically?
I didn't. I hadn't thought of it. I mean, when I did start thinking of it, I think I just don't know all of the wonderful things that can happen on stage yet, because the one thing that gave me faith it could happen was the stampede scene in The Lion King. Because that is just, I can't remember if it's the graphics, but there's just this, you're in a stampede. Really, there's nothing they can't do, and so I trust that.
The Wiz continues its march on the yellow brick road to Broadway. Since launching on a national tour, we've been featuring members of the creative team who are bringing the revival back to New York after all these years. And this time we're talking about the music. The Wiz features an incredible score. Here's Paul Wontorek chatting with music supervisor Joseph Joubert.
You have a great resume, but from what I can tell, this is the first time you've worked on The Wiz?
This is my first Wiz experience, and it's, wow, I go, when I'm at home orchestrating, I'm like, oh my God, am I really doing this?
You are.
So it's like, all right, so they handed me this job, so I've got to come with it. So you guys will let me know.
This score is one of my favorites. I mean, these songs, it's just everything to me. Charles Smalls, the late composer of The Wiz, wrote incredible, iconic music. And Luther Vandross actually made a really interesting contribution to this.
Well, he wrote
score.
Everybody Rejoice.
Yeah, Everybody Rejoice, which is a great 11 o'clock showstopper in the score. How do you honor their work and make it specific to this production and these performers and this new energy? I mean, do you have to like sort of consider that?
I met Charlie years ago in the 80s at a recording session. I knew Luther Vandross, Ashford and Simpson wrote something for the movie. So I mean, these are people that I know.
Right.
It's all about the artist. So Deborah Cox is our Glinda. So I know her voice. I work with Deborah. So I have to figure out, okay, what's her money note? What's a good key for her? What kind of, chordal build up for her? Things like that. Our Eveline, Melody Betts, is out of this world. So we go gospel with No Bad News, which everyone, even in the original, it was gospel, but this is a real gospel thing. Mm-hmm. Our Scarecrow is just the vocal phenomenon. So again, we found that right key for him, get him, his right beat, for his numbers, you can't win. Our Dorothy, Nichelle, is just unbelievable. She was just our last find. We just, found her, and I was able to work with her and do some vocal coaching and just to get the right sounds. And we designed things for her. Obviously, we're paying homage to Charlie Smalls and, to the one Luther song, and then who our artists are in the show, and then making the music feel right for now and timeless.
She's forever in blue jeans. Amber Ardolino plays Marcia Murphy in A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical. And Amber's doing a vlog for us over at Broadway.com. It's called The Denim Diaries. Check out the full episodes over at Broadway.com.
As I was looking out of the audience, I happened to spot one of my favorite celebrities from ABC's The Golden Bachelor, Faith Ryan! Please come on stage and we sing Sweet Caroline with us.
And that's going to do it for us. But for tickets, or if you want to check out extended cuts of all the interviews, head over to Broadway.com. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.